Five Numbers of Destiny. Change your fate using the lost art of ancient Chaldean numerology. By Anne-Marie Uber. And read for you by Alio Voices. One cannot escape numbers. Even zero is a number. The author. Preface. Searching for answers. My life was cursed. I knew it, and my astrology chart was confirming the bad news. It seemed I was fated to a life of challenges and partnerships, health issues, and finances. I had to find an answer to my ongoing problems, which encompassed just about every major area of my life. There's nothing like having continual setbacks to motivate a person to find a way to change things. And so I began my travels into the mysterious world of Chaldean numerology. I immersed myself into the study of astrology, palmistry, tarot, and other related subjects, trying on the beliefs and principles of many spiritual paths. In the late 80s, I was simultaneously introduced to both the Pythagorean and Chaldean number systems. Although I had interest in and studied each of these methods, I was drawn in by Chaldean, with its mystical prophetism and its focus on fate, karma, and luck. I felt Chaldean numerology was the answer to changing my reality. What I did not realize back then was that all the rules were not spelled out for me, and I would have to experiment a lot. Being a true guinea pig, I signed myself up, along with friends, family, and clients who wittingly and unwittingly joined in the study over the years. I examined the numbers of everyone and anyone, searching for patterns. I frequently changed my name, orchestrated events on certain days, chose partners, associates, addresses, and towns. I moved a lot, according to numbers, and used the various suggested methods of luck enhancement, with sometimes disastrous results, and all of the above. 25 years later, I decided it was time to write it all down and formulate it. This book has been a redefining of what little we know of Chaldean numerology, into a system that not only works, but is expanded on in the areas of rules and calculation. It has been simplified for anyone to understand. My journey has been an interesting and, at times, painful one. One of the best ways of finding real answers, though, is through experience. And so you could say I lived this numerology book into existence. I hope you find the information helpful, and I hope it massively transforms your life for the better, as it has mine. God bless. Anne-Marie. Living in the Matrix. For me, the world is like a dream of the mind, in a constant state of change, and can therefore never ultimately be relied upon to hold all of our answers. Science proves this, identifying the world as lacking real substance and made up entirely of energy, a holographic matrix. Even in a dream, though, there are many pathways, maps, and guides to help you find your way. Some of these may lead you astray, some prove reliable, but none is more right or wrong than any other in a dream. Life is an individual experience, and what is necessary or helpful to one person may not be for another. Numerology is the same. There are many number systems, and all have value and purpose. I believe these numerology systems are one form of life's maps or guides to help you create better circumstances for yourself. Because your perception can change your reality, this world would have to be in a constant state of change, which eventually leads to chaos, or as I call it, the law of chaos. God, or the Creator, central source if you prefer, is the only true constant. God's law of grace is what raises us up out of our illusions into happier outcomes, into joy and peace. Numerology helps us get a step closer to accepting this grace and avoiding the suffering of the world. It is the ego's belief that we need to suffer and sacrifice. When we decide to look at our numbers, we are seeking a higher path of joy, a joy which is the equivalent to the godly state of being, and a softening of the painful experiences. There is more than one thought system on how Chaldean numerology should be calculated. I have taken the basic Chaldean number system and their age-old meanings a few steps further, backing up my findings with patterns of conclusive repetitions based on studying the lives of others. There are many other forms of numerology being practiced today that have different methods for calculating because they are used for different purposes. Chaldean numerology has not been something one could find on mainstream bookshelves, as there have been very few books written about this number system. There are plenty of numerology books available, but for years, the large majority of these were based on a Western interpretation of Pythagorean numerology. This is a totally different system, and I want to stress here that these two systems of numbers, Pythagorean and Chaldean, have different purposes and therefore should not be mixed together. I see a lot of people taking what little information is available on Chaldean numbers and substituting the Pythagorean rules to compensate or fill in the empty blanks. This does not work, as you would be creating a whole new number system that would need to be tested on its own. A good example of this is someone adding their whole birth date together to get the Pythagorean life path number and reading the Chaldean meanings for that number. For one thing, this particular form of Chaldean numerology does not add the entire birth date together to arrive at one of the personal numbers. If you have a life path number 9 in Pythagorean, it means that you are a humanitarian type of person, and this is your style of relating, as well as your motivation in life. 9 in Chaldean, however, means someone who is prone to having a temper and who would be dealing with warlike situations. The Chaldean 9 is based on the day of birth and connected to the qualities of the planet Mars. Another good example of someone attempting to merge these two systems is carrying over master numbers 11, 22, 33, 44 from Pythagorean to Chaldean. Some have been using the Pythagorean rule that a master number should not be reduced when calculating in Chaldean. There are no master numbers in this form of Chaldean, and not reducing them in certain calculations causes you to come up with a number outcome that is misleading or incorrect. Master numbers relate to a person's character development in Pythagorean, whereas the 11, 22, 33, and 44 are reduced in Chaldean calculations as needed to find the predictive fate of the person. I am not disagreeing with anyone who includes master numbers in studying other forms of Chaldean or new versions of numerology that they themselves have tested. There are many Chaldean numerology sites on the internet today that are missing the key elements in their calculations that make this system work. For example, one cannot say, "I changed your name to a 23, which is a very fortunate number, and your life is going to be wonderful now." There is more to the story. For it to create enough of a change to actually turn the person's life around, one has to look at how all the numbers interact with one another. In some cases, the individual's life gets worse. I know, I have experimented on myself many times with name changes. Add to that, the hidden number is all but ignored in these numerology calculations, as are the individual rules for each number. Therefore, I will endeavor to address and simplify these missed steps so that it may advantage the many seeking assistance and a bettering of their life from this number system. The differences: Chaldean versus Pythagorean. Chaldean is based on astrology. Pythagorean is based on the mathematical model. Chaldean uses the day of birth as the major signifier. In Pythagorean, the birth date is the major signifier. In Chaldean, the day, month, and year are used separately. Pythagorean adds them together. Chaldean does not use master numbers. Pythagorean does. Chaldean defines numbers 1 through 52. Pythagorean defines 0 through 9. In Chaldean, 9 does not have a letter value. Pythagorean uses sequential alphabet values for all numbers 0 through 9. Chaldean uses compound numbers. Pythagorean uses vowel and consonant calculations. Chaldean is used to determine fate, karma, and luck. Pythagorean focuses more on analyzing character and motivations. As can be seen from these examples, these are two completely different systems. There are also a lot of differences in Hindu, gematria, phonetic Chaldean, and so on. Who are the Chaldeans? There are many theories about this mysterious group of people and differing versions of their history and teachings. Some have been preserved by modern-day Brahmins. The Chaldeans lived for a time in an area southeast of Babylonia, towards the coast of the Persian Gulf, on the right bank of the Euphrates. They arrived around 1000 BC in Assyrian, which name was Kaldu. The Chaldeans were not native to Mesopotamia, but rather migrated from India. They were not Aramaeans, but Brahmanical Hindus. When they ruled all of southern Mesopotamia for a short time, Babylonia became synonymous with Chaldeans, but the Chaldeans were not Babylonians. The Chaldeans spoke a West Semitic language, but eventually adopted the Babylonian dialect of Akkadian, which was, for the most part, the same, with the exception of slight differences in phonetics and characters. These ancient peoples were known as astrologers or star worshippers, and were far ahead of modern times in their mathematical calculations and grasp of astronomy, astrology, philosophy, architecture, numerology, divining, and magic. The Chaldeans believed in one deity, but revered the sun, moon, and other celestial bodies as symbols of that deity. The Egyptians, Hebrews, Assyrians, and Greeks learned the Chaldean sciences. Supposedly, Sabianism was the religion of the ancient Chaldeans, but its principles are misinterpreted and cannot be grasped or studied as they are lost. The Chaldean Book of Numbers, or Book of Zion, and other writings are in Arabic, their knowledge guarded by specific Sufi initiates. It is believed that Chaldeans recognized and denounced the dark side, or what would be known as fallen angels. Or this is what we surmise from ancient Jewish mysticism and the knowledge of the use of amulets and symbols being worn to ward off demons. The Chaldeans honored a Sabbath day of rest, as well as other days, reserved for prayer and gratitude. The number 7 was considered sacred. Chaldeans seem to be connected to alchemy as well, being considered the oldest known magicians. They believed that true power of magic came from the power of the soul and the knowledge of the alchemical or magical properties of plants, minerals, and animals. They were able to contact higher spiritual beings using the psychic senses, religious rites, and prayer. To the Chaldeans, control of the physical world was merely scientific, accomplished by observing the natural laws. This knowledge made their feats appear as miracles or magic to others. These were ancient scientists, and they were brilliant. The wisdom and practice of ancient scientists had one natural philosophy in common that they followed, and that was to observe with their senses. They based facts on what made sense on every level of the universe, not just the physical. The following is becoming common knowledge, but I find it interesting that in the Hebrew Bible, Abraham, the founding father of the Jewish religion, came from Ur of the Chaldeans. In Bactria, there was a Jewish nation named Yaguda or Ur Yaguda. Ur meant place or town. It is also interesting that other philosophic writers of Jewish history agree and name Abraham as a teacher of science and astrology. Tomás d'Oreste, who in his book Moses y los Extraterrestres writes that the philosopher Voltaire believed Abraham to be descended from Brahmin priests who had left India and shared their teachings throughout Persia to the lands near the Tigris and Euphrates. Voltaire noted that the city of Ur was near the border of Persia, the road to India where Brahma had been born. Midway on this road is Bactria, a mountainous area where Brahma was said to be from. Chaldean or Chaldeva, holy Chals, was the title of an ancient Hindu priestly caste of Brahmins. Philo of Alexandria, a Hellenistic Jewish philosopher from ancient Egypt in the time of the Roman Empire, had this to say in his doctrine on Abraham. The Chaldeans exercised themselves most especially with astronomy and attributed all things to the movement of the stars, believing that whatever is in the world is governed by forces encompassed in numbers and numerical proportions, seeking out the numerical arrangement according to the cycles of the sun and moon, the planets, and the fixed stars. An ancient Jewish writer, Eupolemus, 150 BC, writes that Abraham was trained in astrology, immigrated from Chaldea to Phoenicia, and trained, that is, taught, the Phoenicians. Abraham also lived with and taught the Egyptian priests at Heliopolis, and is descended from the race of giants. According to Eupolemus, Abraham is glorified as the father of all science. The Jewish historian Artapanus of Alexandria, an Egyptian, wrote concerning the Jews, 250 to 100 BC. In this historical work, which was written in Greek, the three Jewish patriarchs, Abraham, Joseph, and Moses, were responsible for altering the culture of the Near East. Abraham, in particular, taught the Egyptian pharaoh Thothis the science of astrology. Flavius Josephus, a Jewish scholar and historian, mentions in his book, The Antiquities of the Jews, that Abraham taught science to the Egyptians, who, in turn, taught the Greeks. Why does numerology work? Believing in numerology is an act of faith. Science can prove how numbers measure, but cannot prove why numbers seem to affect us. The belief in the efficacy of numerology is in the seeing of patterns over and over. It is in the experience of using it that belief and confidence in the system is found. Science can prove a lot of things, such as gravity. If a tree branch breaks off, it will hit the ground. Science, however, cannot tell you if the tree branch that hangs over the room you currently sit in is going to break and come through the roof. It is an act of faith that you sit there. It is an act of faith every time you make plans for tomorrow and go to bed. Science cannot tell you if you're going to die in your sleep and if there will be a tomorrow. Therefore, science has its place, as do the things that are outside its parameters. Life, then, is an act of faith. So you may never be able to fully understand why numerology works, but following its patterns and your experiences with it will show that it does. Numerology reminds me of psychology. The latter is considered a science, but it is really just a noticing of patterns of behavior. It is not a proven factual system. Numerology, like psychology, is the study of how numbers affect our behavior and future experiences, only proven by observation and reaffirmation, of its reliable consistency. If you approached the idea that numbers have an effect on your life from a scientific viewpoint, you would say that everything is made up of numbers in its very nature, form, organization, and structure. Therefore, numbers rule your world. You cannot set your alarm, buy a car, pay a bill, watch TV, call a friend, or any number of other things without numbers. Your world is measured and run by magical digits. The ancient Chaldeans discovered an agreement between the seasons and certain fixed stars. Thus began their belief that the earth and heaven were interrelated and ran in cycles. They studied and documented the numerical patterns of the stars and planets and noted their effects on our lives. These cosmic bodies magnetically affect you, just as the moon's tides, solar flares, and sunspots cause changes in the Earth's atmosphere and weather. Or is it us affecting them? Numbers, in numerology, relate to the energy of your name and date of birth. Your personal numbers are connected to the planets in our solar system, including the sun and moon. We know that energy matter is made up of atoms, which contains electrons or protons. These electrons and protons have magnetic charges of positive or negative, just like a battery. Your human cells are magnets. You have an electrical body and brainwaves measured in terms of electromagnetic energy frequencies. Your emotions are electromagnetic energy and are vibrating at a certain magnetic frequency level. This is why your thoughts or moods can repel or attract another person. Others can feel or sense the mood or emotions you are projecting. Because you are a magnet, the magnetic charge of the sun's solar flares would naturally then affect you, as well as the earth. Everything is magnetics, and everything happens in a numerological order that can be mapped and logged with numbers. So, numerology is a study of these planetary number energies and their effect on human life. There is a new cosmology on plasma, which is considered a newly discovered element. Solid, liquid, gas, plasma. It is believed to make up 99.99% of the entire universe, visible and invisible. Plasma in space is a mixture of hot charged particles, ions and electrons, generating a lot of energy. It is only when it is cooled down that plasma becomes a solid, liquid, or gas we would see on Earth. We have learned to function with and utilize these lower states of slowed down magnetic particles. In space, plasmas remain electrically charged and respond more to electromagnetic forces than to gravity. Empty space is alive with a constant flow of plasma. Large bodies in space are believed to be interacting through magnetics, which is much stronger than gravity. In other words, planetary bodies appear to be moving based on whether they are attracting or repelling. Anyone can see this dominance of magnetics over gravity by using simple magnets. Plasma waves are traveling at an unlimited velocity, not as transverse waves of light. They are longitudinal waves, and therefore not limited to the speed of light. Plasma needs an electric current to run on. Think about the fact that your thoughts are electrically charged protein molecules. Your blood flow is an electrical current system. Every cell in your body is a pulsating electrical entity, all of it regulated and measurable by numbers. I will leave it here for you to think deeper on the planetary magnetic connections to you, their connections to number patterns, and their ultimate influence on your life. It is through study and experience that one begins to believe that the effects are measurable and real. Remember morphic resonance? Everything is by habit, thus creating pattern, and thus measurable by numbers, and changeable. Changing my name. As I said before, I felt my life was cursed. We all have our difficulties. I was stuck, for years, in a pattern of attracting emotionally abusive relationships. They were addicted to either alcohol or drugs and were financial vampires. Because of this, I struggled with money almost my entire adult life. I became a workaholic by necessity, with little or no vacations. In addition to that, my health was a constant challenge, forcing me to give up many pleasure foods, follow strict dietary habits, and find alternative ways to heal myself. Also, strange circumstances frequently seemed to happen to me, almost as if to single me out. I remember my high school yearbook. My picture was the only one without a name next to it. Senior year, my name was not on the voting list for prom court. Although enough people had penciled me in to qualify me being on the court, student council suggested a revote. I thought it would be too embarrassing, so I declined. As I grew older and continued to be singled out in many strange ways, I began to feel as if something was wrong with me and imagined that maybe I did not actually exist. In an effort to change my patterns and circumstances, I turned to Chaldean numerology. Because I had what I considered unlucky numbers, I started experimenting with changing my name. I used completely different names and versions of my own name, altering the spelling. I found that my luck did not improve, but rather got worse. I eventually noticed patterns and realized there were specific rules that had to be followed. One of the versions of my name was a 12, the number of sacrifice. Years of feeling the effects of the sacrifice led me to eventually come to a crisis point in realization. The 12 magnetically led me to move to a town which added to the number 12, hence doubling its effect. Then everything became 12. Membership numbers added to 12, my address number, the apartment number, the time displayed on the clock, my change due at the store, credit card numbers, pet names, all 12s. The number continued to follow me. Anything I tried to accomplish in this 12th town was jinxed or wrecked, including an engagement to a fiancé. It was time to sacrifice this name or become the sacrifice. In late fall of 2013, I decided to again change the name I was using, determined that it would be the last time. I wanted to keep some semblance of my birth name, but this proved to be more difficult than I had anticipated. Sometimes no version of a person's birth name will work. I settled on Anne-Marie Uber, the only spelling that would harmonize with my birth number and create luckier numbers. Privately, I still use the previous version of my name, and the influence of both is felt in my life. The results have been astonishing. Even though the old spelling continues to curse me, Anne-Marie Uber has brought in many new blessings. I used the new name for the first time as an instructor of a workshop. That day, I met my twin flame. He took my class, and we found that we had a very special spiritual connection. I attributed our meeting to my name change. My career life shifted, quickly and radically as well, with opportunities to teach even more classes and write this book. Media coverage showed up out of nowhere. People were finding me, and I was suddenly no longer invisible to my good fortune. Life was noticing me. It was as if many obstacles had been removed from my path. In a month's time of changing my name, I began regularly blogging. My online audience tripled, and I got offered to speak on 2 radio shows. My classes were getting booked out. So I want to say here that I don't agree with those who believe it takes a long time to see changes after altering one's name. If it is done correctly, these will be positive changes. This book will teach you how Chaldean numerology is connected with astrology. Each root number is assigned to a planet in our solar system and has a magnetic effect on our future. You will benefit from my years spent testing the rules, looking for patterns, teaching this course, and evolving the system into a simplified model that anyone can understand and utilize to improve their life. You too can learn how to use Chaldean numerology to show you what fate has in store for you and what you can do about changing that fate. I leave you now to discover your destiny numbers. Chapter 1: 5 Numbers That Determine Destiny. How much did you pay for this book? How many pages are in it? You need numbers to answer these questions. Everything in our world, our bodies, nature, and the entire cosmos is made up of mathematical equations of numbers, utilizing the root numbers 1 through 9. We do not know the origin of numbers, yet numbers tell us what day it is, where we live, what time we need to be at work, how many bones are in our body, and the measure of the gravitation, mass, and speed of light that determines the size of a black hole in outer space. All of life can, amazingly enough, be measured with combinations of just 9 numbers. These 9 root numbers recur in a sequence that repeats itself with the use of the 0, determining the next series of numbers, 1 through 9, and then 10 equals 1, 11, 1 plus 1 equals 2, 12, 1 plus 2 equals 3, 13, 1 plus 3 equals 4, and so on. It is amazing to think that combinations of just 9 root numbers and 0 will allow us to count up to infinity and beyond. Your 5 destiny numbers. There are 5 numbers in particular that can open or close doors, attract lucky or unlucky circumstances, and create or remove obstacles to your success and happiness. These are derived from your birth date and name. They are simple to calculate and act as a snapshot or blueprint of your life, setting the stage for what type of luck you are likely to experience along the way. I call these 5 your destiny numbers. Destiny numbers represent the outer workings of fate acting on your life. They are indicators of major events at some point in the future and determine the amount of success an individual experiences. In some cases, the destiny numbers reveal the manner in which you may die. I think everyone's life, in some area, feels a little out of control. Sometimes all of it seems out of control. The good news is, it is simple to alter unlucky destiny numbers to a more positive vibration. You can empower your life by getting familiar with these 5 numbers, creating a flow that will eventually overcome or reduce obstacles, heartache, and lack, none of which are your birthright. The destiny numbers are as follows. The day number. The first destiny number is derived from the day you were born. It may be a single or a compound number. It is called the day number. For example, if you were born on December 2nd, your day number is 2, a single digit. If you were born on December 20th, your day number is 20, a compounded number. But it also breaks down to a 2 because 2 plus 0 equals 2. The numbers 2 and 20 are both 2s, but each have their own meanings. Both will have a strong influence on your life. The day number is one of the most important numbers because it cannot be altered and therefore must harmonize with the other destiny numbers. An individual cannot change the day on which they were born. So in essence, they came into this life with the day number and have to play out its influence. For this reason, it is said to reflect karma accumulated from past lives. This could represent beneficial rewards or unresolved negative lessons. The day number will give you certain personality tendencies or propensities towards certain experiences. It is how others see you, what type of material is attracted to you, or what can happen to you in life. I will discuss your day number in more depth in the next chapter. The individual name numbers, or INN. Each letter of the alphabet has a numeric value assigned to it, and the INNs are found by separately adding together the letters in your first name, last name, and or any other names used in how you are addressed, such as a middle name, an initial or titles, such as Reverend. An INN is the sum total of each name, and it is more common to have at least 2 or more, as most people use a first and last name. Each name number total, by itself, has an influence on your life. If one is commonly known by only a single INN, such as Cher, Shakira, or Madonna, then there would only be one individual name number. The name used for calculating your individual name number, or INN, is the name you use the most, or how you are most commonly addressed by others. This includes nicknames. If you are almost always known by and use a first and last name, you will calculate 2 INNs. If you are always called by a first, middle, and last name, you will calculate 3 INNs. This number is important because it is the only one you can change, in turn, altering the vibration of the other numbers. The total name number, or TNN. The total name number, TNN, is the sum total of all the individual name numbers, INNs. You add the first name INN total to the last name INN total to find the TNN. Note, the INN and TNN are not set in stone and can be altered by the changing of one's name. This would be an option if one had unfortunate numbers and wanted to change their influence. There are specific rules for this that must be followed and will be addressed later in this book. It is very important that the TNN be in harmony with the day number. See natural harmonies later in this chapter. In Chapter 3, you will learn more about calculating your name numbers. The hidden number. The hidden number is found by adding the total name number, or TNN, to the day number. Like the other destiny numbers, the hidden number represents a fate that will befall a person. It is a hidden fate that we are unaware of until we add the day and TNN together. The hidden number is often ignored when choosing a different name or calculating numbers, and can lead to unfortunate circumstances in one's future. There are specific rules to follow with this as well, and these will be addressed in Chapter 4. The period number. The period number is based on a certain time period in which you were born. It relates to astrological sun signs. If you are born in late April or the first 3 quarters of May, you are a Taurus. This time period of Taurus has the number 6 assigned to it. Therefore, if you are a Taurus, your period number is 6. Like the day number, the period number cannot be altered, but it can help enhance the positive qualities of your other numbers and be used to harmonize otherwise negative numbers. More on period numbers in Chapter 5. Chapter 2. The day number. You were born with your own lessons to learn, whether that be through karmic reward or debt. Your past lives determine the number of the day you will be born on and what that karma will be. I call the day of birth the day number. It is a very personal number for you and will be with you all of your life. The day number sets up the type of energy or pattern of life you are set to live under, as payment or reward from previous karma you brought into this life. It may reflect how others view you and the type of circumstances you will encounter along your path. Since this number cannot be changed, it is very important to have all of your other destiny numbers in harmony with this one, if at all possible. This will bring luck to help soften any difficult karma with this number, as well as enhance its good qualities, bringing an overall harmony to your life. An unlucky day number's influence is altered by enhancing the vibrations of the other destiny numbers. More on this in later chapters. Calculating your day number. The day number is the easiest of the destiny numbers to calculate, as it is simply the day of your birth. If you are born on the 5th of any month, your day number is 5. If born on the 30th of the month, your day number is the double or compound number 30. 30 is also the root or single number 3, found by adding 3 plus 0 together. We can write this as day number 30/3. If your day number is any of the single digits 1 through 9, read its meanings in the next section on meanings of single root numbers. If it is a compound number of 10 through 31, first reduce it to its root number and read the single number meaning. Then, read its compound number meaning to determine fate's influence on your date of birth. Examples. Jean is born on October 4th, 1961. Her day number would be a single 4. Mary is born on May 18th, 1980. Her day number is compound 18 and a single 9. 1 plus 8 equals 9. Or 18/9. Following are the descriptions for single and compound numbers. I feel that these numerical meanings are not just descriptions, but rather contain literal predictive symbolism about future events. You will begin to see for yourself how the future can show up in a very specific way through the examples given in this book and in the lives of those you know. These single root and compound double numbers describe you and what happens to you in this life. The single numbers describe characteristics and traits of the astrological planet connected to your root number, how others may see you, and how these qualities affect your life experience. Single numbers deal with aspects of your physical and material world. They are the overall energy pattern or blueprint of your life. The compound numbers 10 through 52 represent outside forces of fate acting on you. These forces are hidden and act in the background of the outer life, family, career, relationships, and reputation, foreshadowing the future. They bring about specific circumstances based on the interaction of all your destiny numbers together. Just like hot water is not soup until you add all the ingredients, together creating a certain combination of flavors. The Chaldeans are the creators of our week, Sunday through Saturday. The 52 numbers in this system relate to the 52 weeks in a year. Your day number can only be one of the numbers 1 through 31, as related to the days in a month. The meanings of the single and compound numbers will apply to your name, hidden, and period numbers as well. Note: I believe the major arcana tarot cards followed the 52 Chaldean numbers. However, we only have 22 of these trumps in modern decks. I have designed my own picture interpretations of the 22 major arcana trumps and given commentary on their meanings. Meanings of single root numbers. Number 1 is ruled by the sun and represents all that is created and manifest. The basis of all life is 1. 1 is a number of action and adventure, rather than contemplation. Those born on a 1 day are unique and have originality. They seek greatness and are determined to have their individuality acknowledged. They are very creative and imaginative. There is no limit to these qualities. They aim for the top and usually find themselves very high up the professional ladder or at the top of their chosen field. They are good as authority figures, but still respect those under their rule. People look up to them. 1 storm ahead toward their ambitions, sometimes before thinking them through. They dislike restraint of any kind. Learning patience and perseverance will help them get where they want to be. 1s should also cultivate inner peace, or anger could become their worst enemy, destroying the 1's plans. A 1 person's drive is toward greatness, rather than the accumulation of wealth. It may be for the aggrandizement of themselves, or for the betterment of the world as a whole. For this reason, they may not end up wildly successful in the material sense, or may have a tendency to overspend. They do retain an ability to be practical, though, so the attainment of wealth is always a possibility, if they work to contain their anger, as mentioned above, and focus on diligence and patience. 1 is a strong, regal number. 1s speak their minds openly, but others respect them because they sense their inherent nobility and strength. 1s may be interested in the paranormal and are usually politically active or informed. If born when the sun is in exaltation, the period of the vernal equinox, March 21st through April 28th, or during the house of the sun, from July 21st through August 28th, a political career could become a reality, as these are powerful time periods for number 1s. 1s should take care of their health. At ages in the 1 series of numbers, 19, 28, 37, 55, 64, 73, and 82. 1s are compatible with the numbers 1, 2, 4, and 7. A 1 individual should determine whether the number 4 is bringing in a positive or negative influence in their life before deciding to include this number in their personal numbers. Make plans. On 1 days, the 1st, 10th, 19th, and 28th, especially during the Cancer number 2 through 7 period and the Leo number 1 through 4 period, June 21st through August 20th. Secondary are 2, 4, and 7 days. Lucky days: Sundays and Mondays, especially if it is a 1, 2, 4, or 7 that falls on that day. Lucky colors: all shades of gold, yellow, bronze,